What's up, guys? Welcome back to DCA. So, as we all know, Bitcoin and the general cryptocurrency market has been showing strength the last few days. In fact, now we're trading at around $51,000. So, we want to look today in the past what has happened when we've been in situations like we're currently seeing right now. So, what I mean by that is us falling below the 20-week moving average and going down to the 50-week moving average. We actually, on the daily time frame, had several closes a bit below the 50-week moving average. However, on the weekly time frame, our lowest close occurred right at about the 50-week. Okay, so we want to see what has happened in situations like we're experiencing right now in the past, coming from a place of a new all-time high down to the 20-week, below it, and down to the 50-week moving average. Okay, so we're going to start by looking back in 2014. So you see in 2014, we made this all-time high right at around $1,150. From there, the market started showing weakness. We came down, we had a massive drop. And when I say massive, I mean, you know, we went from 1150 all the way down to a low right at around 385. So remember that next time you think that you're seeing volatility in the market right now. All right. So down to 385, we recover, we get back to about $1,000, but then people start selling off and the market eventually drops below the 20-week moving average. We get a quick bump back up to the 20-week, but then we go down to the 50-week, which is what we've seen the market do right now. We went down to the 50-week, and what happened then? We get a bump off of the 50-week moving average. We actually are able to get back above the 50-week for a short amount of time. We going from about June all the way through the middle of August, and then we drop below the 20-week, and in fact, back below the 50-week, heading down to the 200-week moving average, in fact. All right. So that's the first instance. So the bottom line is what happened here is we hit the 20, went below, went down to the 50, got a bump back up to the 20-week, and then we're not able to hold it. We did get above, attempted to hold it as support, we're not able, and then eventually fell back through. So that is 2014. So let's look at the next instance. So a similar occurrence happens in 2017, early 2018. So we make a new all-time high, just like we saw in 2014. The market shows some weakness. We drop down to the 20-week, fall below. We attempt to get back above, do so for just a few days, are not able to hold it, and then we fall down to the 50-week. Now recall back in 2014, what happened at this point? We got a bump off of the 50-week and went up to the 20-week moving average. All right. So we go up to the 20, aren't able to get above this time, and then we fall below. And what do? We go down to the 200-week moving average, which I don't have highlighted here, but we go, make our lowest extension downwards down to the 200-week. Two times now we've seen when Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, falls below the 20-week, heads down to the 50. What has it done? There's been a short period of recovery back up to the 20-week. All right, so then in 2019, so the middle of 2019, we get back above the 50, back above the 20-week, and we don't set a new all-time high in this case. We do get back up to $13,000. Remember, the all-time high back in early 2018 or late 2017 was around $20,000. Okay. So we're back above remember, the blue line is the 20-week moving average. We fall below this, head down to the 50-week. Okay. We bounce off of the 50-week, go above the 20-week, and then are not able to hold them, and we fall below. Where do we go? Down to the 200-week. So in three separate instances now, we've gone down to the 200-week moving average after falling below the 20-week, bouncing off of it, going back to the 20-week, and then falling below again. All right, so 3 for 3 times now, we've seen this exact pattern occur. All right, and I wanted to point this out because remember, in this case, we did not go into a full out bear market, in 2019. What did we do instead? we went on a long-winded, about a year and a quarter or a year and a third, sideways movement where we go from 6/27, 2019 all the way out until October, until we finally get back to these prices that we were at back in June of 2019. So it took about a year and a quarter to get back to these prices after falling below the 20, heading down to the 50, bouncing off the 50, getting back up to the 20 week, and then finally falling through a second time and heading down to the 200 week. All right. So now this brings us to this instance, and we all know what this is. This is May. We know what happened there. Bitcoin fell below the 20-week moving average right here on May 15th, 2021. It falls below the 20-week, heads down to the 50-week. Now, in this case, this is a bit different what happened here. We head down to the 50-week, bounce off the 50-week, and like we've seen in the past, we do get back above the 20-week. This time, we hold it as support basically in in August and in the late stages of September and early stages of October, bounce off and are actually able to go set a new all-time high here. All right. From there, though, now we've dropped below the 20-week, the blue line, recall, we're below the 20-week. And from there, we've headed down to the 50-week. Now we're seeing a bounce. So what does this mean? Well, in the past, what this has meant for the market is that, we're going to get a bounce off the 50-week. We've seen this numerous times where the exact same scenario has played out. And just to reiterate, what happens when we hit this 50-week? We bounce off and head back towards the 20-week. If we go back to 2014, you see we bounce off the 50-week, head back towards the 20-week. In some instances, we get above and are able to hold it for a while. In others, we don't. So in 2014, we were able to get back above the 20-week. And in fact, we were above it from 531 all the way through 816. So, about 2.5 months. In 2018, we were not able to get back above this 20-week, right, in any meaningful way. After hitting the 50-week, we came down to the 50-week and then got rejected by the 20-week, right? Then, we were all over the place in 2019. And a lot of that may have stemmed from, the effects of COVID. Nonetheless, we see a similar picture. We fall below this 20-week, head down to the 50-week, bounce off the 50-week, go back above the 20, and then fall through, all right? So what we're getting at here is we need to be careful when we're looking at what's going on right now. We have seen many times in the past where Bitcoin, after making an all-time high, is able to bounce off of this 50-week, head back up to the 20-week, which we're approaching right now, and which is currently sitting right at around $52,750. So before you go FOMOing back in to the market, I'm not saying that we're going to get rejected by this 20 or just sort of get back above it for a short amount of time and then head down to the 200 week. But I am saying there's a historical precedent for it. In fact, we've seen this occur numerous times. All I'm suggesting is, and obviously this is not financial advice, this is merely what the data about the market historically is telling us. We have seen this exact type of event occur where we go down to the 50, bounce off of it, and are able to get above the 20-week, but only for a short amount of time before being rejected back below and heading down to the 200-week moving average. Okay, so if you're wondering right now, well, why can't I see where the 200-week moving average is? That's because it doesn't even fit on this screen. So we have to zoom out and zoom down to find the 200-week moving average sitting right now at $18,420. All right. So that's the type of potential drop that you could see if we see happen what has happened in the past. Now, with that said, in May. In May, we saw ourselves come down to this line and get a nice bounce off of it. So that there at least is a historical reference point which shows us coming down to this 50 week, we can in fact get above and go on to set a new all-time high. And in fact, this is the first time we've ever done this. So, there's two scenarios that I'm looking at here. One, we drop below this 20 week, go down to the 50 week, get a bounce, and then get rejected off of the 20 week. From there, I'm fearful that from there we can head down and start to test these lower levels, 42,000, 30,000, etc. Obviously, 42,000 would be, a major level that we would want to see ourselves hold because, there's a fair amount of support at that level. But if we lose the $42,000 level, then I think the market is in serious trouble, at least in the short to midterm. Okay. The second scenario, we see a situation where the 50 week becomes the level of support for this market cycle, such that we have seen the 20 week moving average act as support in the past. All right. So, what that would mean is perhaps using the 20 week as we do now to be a measure of the bull market simply doesn't apply to this market cycle. It has strongly applied in the past, but perhaps, and it's entirely plausible, that the 50 week is actually our measure of support in this market cycle. If that's the case, we see ourselves bounce off of this level now, and the bull market simply, in whatever manifestation it will take, it continues heading into 2022. So those are the two scenarios we're watching for, guys. I know a lot of people want to be told this is what's going to happen right now. And I think if you're listening to that type of information, you need to reevaluate what you're doing because at the end of the day, no one knows exactly what's going to happen in, right now based on this situation. Sure, a lot of people are going to say we're going to bounce right here and we're going to head straight up. A lot of other people are going to tell you that we're going to drop below this 50 and head down and head down. Bitcoin's going to 15, 10, 5,000, whatever. At the end of the day, what you have to do is know the current situation, know historically in the market what has this meant, and then react accordingly. So the way that I'm interpreting it is I'm cautiously optimistic, bouncing off of the 50 right now, that we can get back above this 20 and then continue on. But with that said, I'm not FOMOing into the market right now just because we're trading at $51,000. I mean, if you look about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were at nearly $60,000. And, if you go back to the last weeks of November, we were above $60,000. You have to approach it cautiously. That's why it's so important to be DCAing into the market, intermittently and not just going all in at once, especially being careful that you don't want to just get all in to altcoins. Because if we do head down to the 200-week moving average, it's very likely that your smaller assets are going to show the most volatility. And by their nature, the altcoins are altcoins. So they are much smaller market caps and more prone to, large investors selling their shares. And, if you're left holding the bag, you could be absolutely devastated in the short term. All right. And there's no guarantee that those altcoins ever come back. You don't know what the market is going to favor in the next market cycle, for instance, or even 6 months from now. So that's kind of the way we're looking at it, guys. Just, be cautiously optimistic here. I just suggest not FOMOing in, don't FOMO into the market because, there's at least a strong historical precedent to say that we typically bounce off this 50 week, head back up, and then get rejected and can head down, right? So there's a lot of, positive signs in the market right now. The altcoins are doing well. Ethereum has been doing well basically since, Bitcoin made this recovery back here in early August. The markets overall looked pretty good until basically the first week in November, or the second week in November anyway. And now we're at this critical point, in my opinion. So we'll just keep watching it. That's going to be it for this one, guys. If you guys like this type of content, hit like and subscribe. Also, I just wanted to say quickly, if you are not new to the channel, you may notice this is not my usual setup. I'm traveling right now. It's a small miracle of science that that I'm even making this video based on all the things I had to do to get this setup going. So, I'll be back to my usual setup in probably 3 or 4 days. So until then, guys, see ya.